And here we go on our Wednesday edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. And we are looking at some roadmaps of how the Browns offseason could go. I just put mine up on Tuesday, so go check that out at cleveland.com/Browns. You're going to get to see some of these roadmaps going up on the site. And we're going to spend some time on the podcast over the next couple of weeks, mixed in with some various other topics about what these roadmaps are going to look like and what the Browns offseason could look like. And we're going to start today by looking at some cuts that I decided to make. And look, these are the difficult decisions that the Browns face. And I think this is an interesting discussion because it comes down to, how much does cap space matter? What do they need to do versus maybe what they should do? Who's going to step into these roles? And let's just start with the big one. The first move that I made was I think they're going to have to make the move with Jarvis Landry and cut him. I just think the time has come. He makes a lot of money. He's older now. He started to suffer some injuries. I'm not super concerned about that. And I think you're going to remake this wide receiver room. And I just think it's hard to justify Jarvis Landry eating up $16 million of cap space here. Nothing against Jarvis. I think trading for Jarvis, the extension, all of that, I think it was worth every penny for this football team. But I think the time has probably come to move on. And I got the sense in Andrew Berry's end of year presser, at least, reading between the tea leaves of his answer, that maybe he was feeling the same way at the time. Is there any situation where Jarvis Landry is still on this football team, Mary Kay?
I think there is one, and that is if they can't sign who they might want in free agency, if they can't figure out how to significantly upgrade the receiving core, and they are running it back with Baker Mayfield, and they could find a way to restructure Jarvis's contract, and he decides that, he's comfortable here and he wouldn't mind coming back, then I could see it. Or even if they have another quarterback and Jarvis would be excited about playing with that quarterback. But the only way that I see it happening is if they significantly redo his contract to the point where that 16 point, I think it's $379 million right now, comes down a ton. And then they give him some more guaranteed money and then just go from there. But for the most part, it does seem like the end with Jarvis. It seems like the right thing to do for everybody involved. I think it's run its course. I think that the OBJ thing didn't sit well with him. The fact that he didn't speak to us at all in the last half of the season after OBJ left, except for when we went out to his Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. He did not do an official Browns interview after OBJ left. I think the fact that I think that means that he didn't have anything nice or good to say and therefore was going to keep his mouth shut. I think that all says goodbye, Jarvis, to me. I agree. I thought Andrew Berry sounded a little final, but I've also learned over the years that you can never say never, as we have learned with Rashard Higgins. So there is a world in which he comes back under a restructured deal, but knowing that he only has $1.5 million in dead cap, if you part ways with him, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. Most likely he'll be gone.
Yeah, and I don't care about that stuff because is he good enough to be one of their top two receivers? Like, is he a good enough player? And I know he battled injuries this past year, and credit to him for fighting through stuff. But if we all think they need to elevate this passing game, if he's starting for you, is that good enough? And especially, and I just don't, obviously, there's no way it's coming back at 16, Mary Kay, as you said. So what's the number on a restructure that would make sense for both sides? He's not going to settle for 6 with the Browns. Would the Browns go, and why would the Browns give him 11? Or when they could just go get somebody new and spend his $16 million on somebody more dynamic? And I think the phrase you guys said was like, it's run its course. It just feels that way. Have a Jarvis day. I mean, this guy is super important to this era of Cleveland football. So it would be great for him to be honored or recognized in some way. Like, this dude was all about it. This is exactly what you want when you acquire a veteran. He's exactly what you want when you acquire a veteran. He cared about his new team. He cared about his new city. He was productive. He did what you wanted him to do. But I can't, what Dan or Scott, like, what's the number? If you're like, you know what, I think a restructure can work. What's the number? I don't even know what, I just feel like there isn't one. So I can't almost picture it in my head how it would work to have him back.
The number is lower if say there was a situation like, they went out and got his best friend and brought him in as the other receiver, and he'd want to play with him for a few more years, but that's obviously not going to happen. It's funny because, say you cut Jarvis, the person you bring in is basically going to be looking at a deal roughly to what Jarvis is currently scheduled to make. And you're probably going to want the kind of production out of him that maybe Jarvis had in 2020. He got over 100 targets. In 2020, he had about 70 catches. That's probably best case scenario for a main receiver in this offense. So really, I think it comes down to probably age. You just want a younger guy who can get further down the field, who's got like a better depth of target than Jarvis Landry is going to give you. But as far as what, the replacement is, it's basically around the same thing he's making and that production that he's given you. So, I guess what I'm saying is maybe don't be so quick to give up on Landry. I think it probably just comes down to age and what they, the fact that maybe they don't want to pay their slot receiver, maybe that guy be the one who's taking up the bulk of the wide receiver salary. They want it to be somebody else on the outside, maybe somebody more versatile than him who can, again, get down the field a little more than Landry can.